Hi, I'm Troy Anderson with Allied Code. Today I got Ruby on my mind. I'm here with Scott Rodriguez. He's got some questions about my business, and I thought we'd just kind of start it that way.
This is five things to ask your developer, correct? First of all, I don't know what a run book is. What is that?
It's an electronic tool, but it's a place that you keep all of your passwords, your credentials, your information about how you deploy, where all of the parts of your application are. You keep that up to date and you keep it secure and safe. Your developer needs access to it. You need to own it if you're the owner of the business or the leader of the team. And it's the responsibility of the whole team to keep it up to date. It allows you to move effectively and efficiently through a project when you're adding new features, or if you're adding a new developer, or you're adding a new service.
So why would you need to own it? What's the value in that?
So one of the challenges is if you bring on a new developer, or you lose a key man, or maybe you lose your developer, they've got all that knowledge. It might be stored on their laptop, it might be written on a piece of paper in their desk drawer. Depends on the structure, but when they go and the information goes, it can be weeks. I've had clients where it takes 6 weeks to recover the account information for, say, an Amazon Web Service account.
That sounds costly. I got you. Okay. And so, what is a security patch?
So a security patch,
So what is a security patch?
the idea is whenever we develop software, we're using tens to hundreds of third-party libraries. Each of those libraries is maintained by the folks that develop them. And every day, every month, every year that goes by, there are changes in the software environment, and something is discovered that it has an exploit, something that somebody could take advantage of to get in through a back door. And so each of those libraries is continually being updated and patched or changed or updated so that the library itself closes the security problem. It's not super recent. It was in the last year. It was a huge potential exploit in a very common tool for accessing computers remotely. That was patched as soon as it was found out. It was patched within days by the maintainers. But then all of the people that use that have to then patch their systems that use that library in order to minimize the risk of having an exploit applied against them.
God, what percent of your functionality is covered by automated tests?
Right. So I ask new clients this because when they bring on a new developer, or they bring on somebody onto their team and they want to add a feature, or they want to apply a security patch, or they want to update their existing software, one of the risks is that the changes that they make to the software causes unexpected problems. We call them regression bugs. They're bugs that occur based on something that was done now, something used to work and now it doesn't work anymore after the change. So automated testing is kind of like having an army of testers that work effectively for free. It's tests that are written in code that run the software through its paces. And as soon as you make a change, and any change to code is always a risk of breaking the code. So as soon as you make any change, you rerun those tests, and if they all pass, you know that at least the stuff that was tested still works. And if they fail, the developer has quick feedback, can make the changes, diagnose the problem, make the changes, fix the software. So automated testing, while it costs time and effort and energy and developer time up front to build those automated tests, it saves you, I'm going to just say 10 times that amount over time, because imagine if you have to use your thumbs to test a human test, your testing process, every time you want to test the login function, a human's got to do it. If you automate that, the software does it. Human might take 20 seconds to test it. The software might take 3 seconds or 2 seconds, but you're not paying a human anymore. And humans get tired of testing the same thing over and over.
20, 30, 50, 100 times.
And so what do they do naturally? They don't test it.
Right.
So it's a really important question. What percentage of your code or your functionality is covered with software automated testing? And when that's 0%, which is very often the case, then a very smart move is to roll in some level of test development into your development process. It doesn't have to be a full-on spend 6 months writing all the tests. Allocate 10% of your developers' time to adding tests every week, so that over time you're building that up and you're gaining. It's like making investments in the stock market. Over time, it's worth a lot more than what you put in.
That sounds like it. What about deployment process documented? Why should you document that?
All right. So deployment process. First, what is it? When I make a change to a mobile application, a web application, or something like that, it's one thing to make the change locally and test it, and all works locally. It works on my development environment. I check the test, but it's not out in the world yet. How do I get it out in the world? How do I take a web application that I'm developing locally and make it available to all the people in the world that want to use it? That's called deployment. I deploy it to Amazon, or I deploy it to DigitalOcean, or some service out there. And how that happens is there's a number of different ways to do it, and it kind of ties back to the runbook. The runbook would have all the credentials one might need. Your developer that you work with every day or all the time is going to know that process. And a new developer or a change in developers isn't going to know that process. So that documenting the process of deploying your software minimizes your risk of downtime or not being able to get a new feature out just in time.
Okay, and what is a practice for maintaining a code base? I don't even know what that means, so enlighten me.
Sometimes we talk about security patches, and the security patches is that upgrade path. So your code base, that's what's underneath all of everything that runs. When you run and open an app, it's got a code base that uses it. This week happens to be Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple, 2019, WWDC 19, and they're releasing hundreds or thousands of new features within the code base that you would use to write iPhone apps. So as of next week, all those developers are going to go back to their jobs, and they're going to want to include some of these new things. And also those owners and leaders that have watched the keynote and say, I want those new features. So now what happens is we've got to include those into our product. So the problem is, if it's been a year since you've touched your product, you're not ready to include those. You're not up to date on the operating system version. You're not up to date on all the library versions. You're missing some key features, and so you're going to be behind the curve. You won't be able to implement the new things as quickly as other people might be able to, because you haven't maintained your code base. So maintaining the code base looks like maybe it's once a month. It could be once or twice a quarter. You're looking at all the components of your code base, and you're including that in your development process. It's not just new features. It's keeping your existing code base up to date so that when new opportunities show up, you're ready to jump and use those.
That sounds excellent, Mr. Anderson. Again, this is Troy Anderson, CFO of Allied Code, alliedcode.com. Instagram handle is Ruby on my mind. And tell me why you wear the hat.
Well, here I am in Arizona. It's a nice, sunny, warm day. Every now and then find myself on stage singing some Willie.
There you go. All right. Thank you again, Mr. Anderson.